Hello everybody, Bad Facial Hair here, and today I'm going to talk about short songs. A piece of music being longer doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better, but there is usually a threshold for when art can reach that next level of being amazing, you know? For example, it's nice when a movie is a cool 90 minutes or so, but if you look up the greatest cinematic masterpieces of all time, they're usually going to be around 120 to 150 minutes. When it comes to music, the height of the mountaintop are going to be 3 to 5 minutes long, with the absolute shortest tracks being at least 2.5 minutes. And it's easy to assume why this is. For art to really connect with you, you need some kind of jumping off point to get to the depth. There's gonna be ups and downs, highs and lows. We typically need a little bit of time. But today, I am not interested in that kind of thing whatsoever. We are cutting down the length of what a great song needs to be and going with 2 minutes or less. But first, a message from today's sponsor. Purchasing tickets for an event can be the worst. You aren't sure what the view from your seat is like, the prices are ridiculous with no good deals in sight, and finding something last minute can seem impossible. Solve all of these problems with Game Time. This is the fastest, easiest way to buy tickets for whatever event you're looking for, with lowest price guarantees, panoramic views from your seat, all-in pricing, flash deals, and more. Scrolling down the app, I was looking at these Red Sox tickets, and we've got some nice zone deals down the first baseline. Check out that view. You can go through other popular events. I was looking at these amazing deals for Girl in Red. You can specifically look for events under $50, etc. Just recently, I wanted to go to Friday Night SmackDown, but I didn't have a ticket until I drove to the arena, and this is what I love about this app. In the parking lot, I went on Game Time and had my choice between all these different seats that had dropped in price by a ton. I picked a good deal and had a great night. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ALPHAMEDIA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ALPHOMEDIA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. In my pursuit of itty bitty ditty knowledge, trademark that, I wanted to see if there were any huge mainstream hits that followed my criteria, and while I did find a couple, I need to give an honorable mention to Song 2 by Blur. 2 minutes and 2 seconds, a track that went double platinum in the UK, with many Brits voting it as the best song ever. The song that most Americans will know as the Woo-Hoo song is a classic in its own right. The story goes that Damon Albarn, frontman of Blur and Gorillaz, was sort of making fun of American grunge music and how popular it was despite how little work needed to be put into it, and in doing so, he made the only song that Blur would have any success with in the States. Irony is a funny thing. My other honorable mention is for Nick Drake and a couple of the best songs off of his music nerd cult classic album, Pink Moon. If I really wanted to, I could include Horn and Harvest Breed, which are under 2 minutes, but they don't even come close to the quality of stuff like the title track and Road, which are just over 2 minutes. The whole album is this lovely, intimate collection of singer-songwriter stuff that has a real sense of poetic grace to it. If you listen to the full album, it's just under half an hour, and so you can be in and out in no time. You can take a road, it takes you to the stars. Now I can take a... And while I am going to be mentioning specific tracks on this video, I also wanted to talk about patterns in certain subgenres where you can almost expect songs to be this short. While it's not my area of expertise, a lot of punk hardcore stuff fits this description, and it's easy to see why. Take a band like Dead Kennedys. Their stuff is fast-paced, aggressive, and there's a real sense of urgency within their political messages. They want to get out there, go as hard as they can, and actually say something, and so it's all about delivering an immediate impact. Shorter songs just lend themselves well to this DIY mantra. For different reasons, you can also see shorter songs on instrumental hip-hop albums like Kenny Beats' Louie or the classic example of J Dilla's Donuts. Within both of these records, you're getting a collage of creativity. Hip-hop is built on the concept of sampling, and within both of these records, you can get a taste of different aspects of the vast musical landscape and see how they can get sampled and repurposed into creating something totally new. You get a little soul, funk, jazz, R&B, but within instrumental hip-hop, it can almost be about presenting your idea and not overstaying your welcome rather than repeating the same thing back a few times and doing verse, chorus, chorus. Doing so on a rap song with lyrics would make more sense, obviously, but there's something beautiful and dynamic about these short, focused, concentrated pieces on Louie and Donuts. Instead of the ups and downs, highs and lows, and depths of longer songs, with these examples, it's almost about inspiring spontaneity and discovery. With that being said, I have a huge example in the hip-hop realm, and that's the structural marvel of Tierra Whack's Whack World. The first 2 songs are just under a minute, the next 13 are 1 minute precisely, with each track getting its own visuals to create a boundary-pushing experience. Whack World has this witty, clever wordplay that almost disarms the listener before making an emotional impact with its social commentary and thoughtful storytelling. The whole concept is fascinating because it can be a critique of society's shrinking attention spans, but she's able to showcase her artistry amazingly in these tiny 1-minute bubbles. While we're in a similar frame of reference, experimental hip-hop can be a great place to find these micro bangers. As a matter of fact, I would argue that one of the best rap songs ever made is under 2 minutes long. Accordion by Madvillain, Madlib, and the immortal MF Doom clocks in at 1 minute 58 seconds, and it packs all the punch of a hip-hop great. We begin with a decent chunk of that eclectic Madlib beat featuring the titular sound, and it fits into the album's aesthetic so well. It's this bizarre thing where it both feels like a retro cartoon and something you'd listen to on a futuristic spaceship. And the vast majority of this song is just Doom doing what he does best. It's one big verse with these incredible flows, internal rhymes, multisyllabic rhymes, and so much more. It's dense, but the song is short enough that it works perfectly. Instead of these short verse, choruses, it's all the bars hitting you at once, with the last couple of lines almost acting as a one-time hook. And there's even an outro on this thing, which is crazy considering how it's short enough to make this list, but there's an outro on it.
Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. That'll be the hour they knock the slick.
And then on one of my favorite rap albums ever, Danny Brown's Triple X, or should I say, Triple X, we find more examples like Doom's. Much of this whole album rejects the traditional verse, chorus thing, with either Danny just doing one big verse like on the intro, or a bunch of small verses back to back on Adderall Admiral. The opening track even has this great double entendre about structure, with Danny rapping, weaving kicks and snares, trying to dodge these hooks, keeping it original, something that's overlooked. By cutting out the stuff that would make this catchy like a radio song, Danny is doing his own thing and showing off his talent in the process.
And I'm sorta like Neo with the Matrix code, try to escape card poets, so many lines you can barcode it.
Moving on to different genres, we can go to the lands of folky singer-songwriter and or alternative rock and find great songs that are like short stories. These are the For Sale, Baby Shoes Never Worn type beats of this conversation. On the opening track of Neutral Milk Hotel's In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, The King of Carrot Flowers Part 1, you not only get an introduction and mood setter for the album, but you also get one of the greatest testaments to the human experience ever. In exactly 2 minutes, we hear about childhood imagination and innocence, the unpredictability and dangers of life that are always lurking around the corner, domestic turmoil that can shatter the aforementioned childhood innocence. There's the exploration of sexuality and intimacy as you grow up, the deeper bonds you make with those around you, and the complexities of love and love lost, all within the chaos of life. You get just about everything within this one short song, and then you're ready to listen to one of the greatest albums ever made. On the opposite end of the spectrum, which can also sometimes feel like the same sort of thing, a closing track is the same side of the coin. Or the different side of the different side of the same coin. The titular closing track of Yusuf Cat Stevens' Tea for the Tillerman is remarkable. While this is also something that doesn't have a hook or chorus, it is far less wordy, but just as meaningful. What's so gorgeous to me about looking into all of this is that you can listen to a great normal song and then feel something, cut it in half, and feel something just as hard, and then cut that in half and feel something just as hard. While The King of Carrot Flowers Part 1 previews an entire epic album, but also kind of encapsulates the whole thing, Tea for the Tillerman wraps everything up that you just listened to into one neat little bow, and yet it's also the too long didn't listen version of the whole record. And even though I've been avoiding hooks for the most part, we can do the verse-chorus thing, just shrunken down. Stuff like Please, 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 Let Me Get What I Want by the Smiths, True Love Will Find You in the End by Daniel Johnston, and Angelina by Pinegrove. All of these are much more traditional in the way that songs are written, but they're just cut down for size. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when it's done really well, you can't really tell the difference. The tracks that I just named are all arguably my favorites for those respective artists, and I don't categorize them in my head as the short songs from them. No, they feel totally complete and full just the way they are.
Lord knows it would be the first time.
True love will find you in the end.
You get so tangled up.
And the finale of this video is going to be who I think the two masters of these short songs are, but in the meantime, here are a bunch more little favorites. Fell in Love with a Girl by the White Stripes has all the urgency of a punk rock song, but the sound of something that would be on the soundtrack to a mid-2000s MLB baseball game, and I say that in the best way possible. Radiohead's I Will is very minimalist, and it has an astounding approach to Thom Yorke's vocals. One vocal take is low and conversational, while the other is like this high-pitched siren song that really draws you in. This is a prime representation of how something can be under 2 minutes, but just as emotionally devastating as anything else. Within the past few years, Pink Pantheress is one of the faces of this kind of dance pop that is almost snippet length. And while there are plenty of reasons to complain about the sort of TikTokification of modern music, I don't think that she's one to blame for it. She has made these wonderfully addictive drum and bass, bedroom pop hybrids that are very earnest and fun. And yes, they're short, but I don't think it's her fault that other people saw what she was doing and took the wrong message of, oh, okay, we should just make songs that are short now. Then what I think might be the truest, best default answer of what a great under 2 minute song should be, it's The Letter by the Box Tops. Iconic instrumental, iconic gravelly voice, iconic opening line. It was in Bad Times at the El Royale, it was in the Minions movie, and it sounds like something that should have been in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood soundtrack, even though it wasn't somehow.
I'm going home, my baby just wrote me a letter.
And finally, short little drum roll please, the people that I think are the best short song makers ever, the Beatles and Frank Ocean. With short songs, artists can still convey emotion. They can still tell stories. They encapsulate a moment within this fleeting time frame, and with George, John, Paul, Ringo, and Frank, it's not a handicap, it's a superpower. From Me to You is an early boy band cut that is built on infectious charm and top-notch pop songwriting. Why Don't We Do It in the Road is raw rock and roll that is just as spontaneous as the title suggests.
Why don't we do it in the road?
Her Majesty is a cute little ditty that is a cross between a simple lullaby and a legitimately impressive folk song.
Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, someday I'm gonna make her mine.
Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam are the quirky, lovable side characters of Abbey Road. A perfect movie needs its character actors like Steve Buscemi and Stephen Root just as badly as its leading men in Brad Pitt and Leo. Stuff like Golden Slumbers and She Came In Through the Bathroom Window would be the best song by 99% of bands that have ever made music. But because of how many stunners these guys have made, these tracks don't even get talked about anymore. These songs are not dinky interludes, they are rich tapestries. And while something like Norwegian Wood is just over that 2-minute mark, it is unbelievable, I mean that word when I say it, that you can put so much into a song that you can listen to in the time that it takes to brush your teeth. And I know what everyone's saying, Frank Ocean is just the modern Beatles. Channel Orange is Sgt. Pepper's, Blonde is White, Endless is Abbey Road, I agree with you. Fertilizer is this whimsical jingle that I have now put into your head until further notice. Good Guy is this insanely vulnerable, introspective piece that is its own coming-of-age movie in one song. It features its own sad protagonist yearning for a connection.
Is when I realized you talk so much more than I do.
Close to You is a haunting reimagination of the Carpenters classic that keeps the same essence while sort of also feeling like a late-night Adult Swim commercial. And last but not least, Comme des Garçons is a unique, punchy celebration that is just so freeing. You may think that it's an odd choice to close out this video, but I think it's very fitting. It shows that within this dynamic category of short songs, anything goes. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave your short songs in the comments down below. What did I miss? What songs did I get right? And thank you very much. I will see you later. Hey, thank you for watching that video. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS, buy my merch, support me on Twitch, Patreon, etc. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.